Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Saturday. It is the Earthmaster out here, about 10:38 a.m. California time here, October 19th, 2024. Goodness, we're already just about done here with the month of October. Almost done with 2024. Goodness. All right. Earthquake activity here in the last 24 hours. The latest quake here, 1.7 into the looks like West Texas area out in the oil fields outside of Pecos, Texas here. Quite a few oil fields in this area, as we can see as we zoom in. Might be a little hard to see on this map, but they're out there. These little pads and whatnot. There's even some wastewater disposal ponds here nearby. I don't know exactly when this image was taken, but it's possible there could be some new operations developing out here where this earthquake activity is occurring. Some type of solar farm out here as well. Backing out of here, check out California, West Coast region. Some a little bit newer activity out here off the coast of Oregon once again. This is about the third or fourth earthquake within the area of the Cascadia. I know that's off here, off on the Pacific plate here, but still, this activity is a part of the overall uptick out here across the Cascadia recently. 3.8 out there on the just south of the Blanco fracture zone, it looks like, from earlier this morning. Not a whole lot there through the Pacific Northwest. Northern California, pretty quiet as well. As we look here through Southern California, a couple earthquakes there in the San Bernardino mountain range. A little sequence of small quakes there. Let's check out 2.5 and above. Nothing. A little quiet out here. In fact, about the last week or so has been awfully quiet compared to previously, and to the last 2 months there, where we've seen elevated seismicity out here across Southern California in many different areas. But right now, well, what do we got down here? We got a couple earthquakes that just popped up here on the map. That would be off of the San Andreas fault here, southern branch. Hopefully I didn't jinx this all of a sudden. 1.3 to 1.3 looks like roughly about 1 minute apart from each other here. Things starting to potentially stir up here. We got to watch this here because this is where there's enough strain for an 8.1. And this area here, the southern branch of the San Andreas fault, has not seen any sufficient release here in over 300 years. So I always like to pay attention to swarms. If we start getting some swarming activity out here, I would say, whoa, heads up, folks. Any type of swarming in or around the San Andreas fault is something to watch for sure. But this specific area where the certain branches, fault systems here branch off the San Andreas fault is something to watch here closely. Now, right now, only 2 earthquakes. I don't see them showing up there on the seismograph. Those are actually really small earthquakes, so not going to show up on a seismograph that I have over here called the Barrett station. So, but either way, we'll watch that. We'll check back on that at the end of this update video. Around Yellowstone National Park, well, south of there, I would say, around the Grand Teton area. A couple 2s stirring up out there. So let's just double check the Yellowstone overview and see what's going on here. Let's see. There's a couple different earthquakes here, it looks like. Maple Creek showing maybe a few out here, very small ones. Showing up there around Mary Lake as well, but nothing big. I'm betting those are going to be the one-pointers. Moose Creek, Idaho picked it up pretty nicely here because it's a little bit south to where the epicenter of this little small microquake activity is taking place. Again, nothing big. Looks like a 2.5 out there and another 2-pointer and a little 1.5 in the area. New Madrid seismic zone just outside this area. A couple 1s, or 1.9 coming in. Interesting, all these similar magnitudes here. Right now with California and New Madrid seismic zone. All right, anything major going on here overnight? Largest magnitude in the last 24 hours is going to be this earthquake down here in the West Chili Rise. But today, after midnight anyway, 4.9, Mid-Indian Ridge here. That's going to be this zipper zone out here, and I call it the, it kind of looks like a zipper in a way. It's unzipping, so to speak, slowly over time, creating new oceanic crust out here on the divergent plate boundary. That's one of the largest earthquakes here after midnight, so basically things somewhat quiet out here. Not super quiet, but we're not really seeing a lot of large-scale activity yet. A little swarm up here across the northern edge of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench here. Some deeper activity stirring up here in this area. 4.3, 120 miles deep. Now there is looks like a handful of other quakes in that area as well. That's not being reported there by the USGS. EMSC reporting that data. Pretty quiet out here across the crunch zone. Look at that. Not too often do we see this area completely quiet right around the Indonesia Islands area. Philippines still seeing a little bit of movement. It looks like it's halted right there, though, at the southern end of the Philippine Trench. Some threes stirring up out here, but yeah, I don't recall the last time we've seen this go quiet like this out here in this area. Might be a little concerning here across that region. One deep earthquake there on the subduction zone area. Let's see here. It's a 3.9 in the Japan area. Underneath this area, that's the that trench zone out there that they put out a mega quake warning for. It's going to be this trench area right here, the Kumano Ridge. A couple months back here, the Japanese government seismology agency put out a mega quake warning here for the subduction zone due to elevated seismic activity here at the southern end. And we got a deeper earthquake right now in this area, 3.9. That's about 80 kilometers deep here in this area. And I don't know if there's a way to change the kilometers to miles here on the Earthquake 3D globe. I never thought about that. I normally try to use the miles here on the USGS side of things, but I don't know about the Earthquake 3D globe. I'll have to check that out and see if I can switch that up. Never thought about that. I've been running this program for many years, and I think more people like to tune in to the miles instead of the kilometers. But all right, moving on past that, New Zealand a little bit more active here this morning in the area of North Island. Got some deeper activity with some subsequent shallower adjustment down the plate boundary here, threes. But we also had a 4.3 in there, fairly deep earthquake there underneath the North Island region. Pretty quiet though from about the about Vanuatu area westward here across this region. That's just awfully strange there. Pretty quiet. Some movement across the Java Trench, latest of 4.7 off the coast here of Sumatra. USGS is reporting that quake. Struck here a couple hours ago. 35 miles deep here into the northern edge of the subduction zone region. A couple quakes there outside of well, this is going to be in the Tajikistan area, Tajikistan, whichever one you prefer, whichever one's the correct pronunciation. Mediterranean area, got some fours clustering up here across the Turkey area once again. Some threes and even a 2.6 coming in right now into the area around the Mediterranean here, probably around the Crete area. This area had a 4.8 this morning here in this little plate boundary. Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot popping off there for now. And somewhat of an uptick here along the South America region last night and this morning. Mostly threes, and looks like might be a 4 in there or so. But it's clustering and pancaking here right in the center portion of the Peru-Chile Trench. Middle America Trench here showing some further activity. A little bit of escalation southward here. Bunch of threes and fours in there today. It's going to be this area right down here. Nothing showing up from the USGS map at all. I really wish they would integrate an option here to include world earthquakes of the smaller magnitude. I mean, it's not that hard to do if you got someone, that's advanced in programming. You could easily add on the potential worldwide earthquakes here in an option. I just don't know why they don't do that. It'd be kind of neat, to include worldwide activity here, which they could integrate into the map from various other agencies here as an option to the user. I think that'd be a really neat feature instead of having to go to, a different worldwide earthquake monitoring agency. But Middle America Trench here, quite a few threes, quite a few fours clustering up here, up and down the area. So this could be a hot spot here today. It's already a hot spot, but definitely want to keep an eye on that for maybe some larger scale activity today. It is still super duper dry out here. Dew points in the low 30s. Humidity's down at like 7%. We got a very strong north wind here in Northern California. And man, is it killing me. Super dry out there. I don't mind the cooler weather, but it is super dry right now. I'm really surprised USGS is not reporting some of those fours out there. Normally they'll at least report something in the 4 range for this area, but nothing, nada. Big island of Hawaii out here. Still getting that offshore, offshore on the map here it looks like, but this is still some deeper activity leading off to the Loihi Seamount in the last couple days here. Really nothing new up here across the Kilauea volcano, but getting some interesting migration down here across that area. Nothing changing yet in terms of volcanic activity, but a little bit of migration down there might stir things up there across that seamount here in the future. All right, real quick look here at Southern California. They have kept up both of these earthquakes, one a 1.2 and the other a 1-pointer within seconds of each other here. Automatic status for that quake. Automatic status for this quake as well, but the time difference here, almost a minute between the two quakes there, lead me to believe that those are actually legit earthquakes, not just a duplicate of one quake. So we'll watch that. Definitely in an interesting area out there, just off the stress zone of the San Andreas Fault, San Bernardino Mountain Range area. That's a major earthquake hazard out here. Let me tell you, it's got the potential here for an 8-pointer across that area. We'll see how things handle out there today. Alaska area up north, a couple smaller earthquakes out there. Really nothing major going on up there today. The largest today so far is going to be a 3.2. Previous activity there from yesterday. Handful of smaller quakes up and down the Cook Inlet area. Aside from that, folks, I guess we'll see how today plays out. A couple M flares stair-stepping out here on this chart. A number of M flares, it looks like, here in the last 24 hours. That's actually quite a bit of activity. That is from a departing sunspot here. You can see it here from yesterday's image when it was producing an M flare. That area of interest is now, which is 38, I believe it's 3854 or 3852, is now way over there on the western limb. Barely visible on the magnetogram image. This region right here is starting to get a little bit of development with it. But even so, this is going to be out of sight, out of mind here in the coming days as well. One active region across the eastern limb here. Not really expecting much from that, but further out and about there, we should be seeing a little glimpse of it on the eastern limb here in the coming days. It's going to be a sunspot area, 3842 and 3844, which will be peeking around the corner here. This is from yesterday, so we're a little bit more positioned further to the eastern limb here with this sunspot group. It looks fairly large and massive on the earth or on the far side imagery here, but we won't know 100% until it gets over here into a visual perspective. But something to watch here coming up this week. No major roars in the forecast, and there's your flares in the last 24 hours. M flare activity from 3854, again, which is now out there on the western limb. Flare threat remains elevated. Well, somewhat elevated. 10% chance for X flare. M flare at 60. C flare around 99% chance. Nothing major here going on in the space weather world for now. We got some asteroids headed towards the planet, but really nothing of any major concern here. All safely passing the Earth at a considerable distance. Now, I'm sure you may have heard something about some type of potential magma intrusion out here across the Ethiopia area. There has been a number of earthquakes out here across this area that has a volcano within the region. Uncertain, though, on if this elevated seismicity and potential magma intrusion is associated with that volcano or just in general associated with this major rift boundary that sits out here. It's the Great Rift Valley, and you can see it here. Separation of the continental rift zone that is slowly pulling apart. And when you get that activity, you get these volcanoes, obviously, and there's some sort of potential magma intrusion going on out there around that volcano. The specific volcano I showed you there in the Ethiopia area is Fintel. Hopefully that is the correct pronunciation there. The last known eruption is 1820, the Common Era. It is a composite stratovolcano. And, again, I don't know if it's associated with that specific volcano or not. It's actually positioned a little bit further to the east here in a broader region across this rift boundary. So I'll continue to watch that. There's just, I've seen it floating around here on a couple of social media platforms here that we could see some type of magma, or that we have been seeing some type of magma intrusion here. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to erupt, but it's something to watch in any type of rift boundary out here. But I'll continue to keep an eye on that and report back on anything as far as new information goes. All right, have a good one, folks. Nothing major going on in space weather world, or severe weather world. Aside from a little area down here in eastern New Mexico, we got potential there of seeing some tornado activity today. Got quite a few storm chasers heading down there. Also, Reed Timmer and Dominator 3 is headed down there today as well. Going to be chasing some potential tornadoes out there in the wide open country of New Mexico. That's a good thing about New Mexico out there. You got, not a whole lot of trees, right? If you're chasing down south here in the area of the jungle, they call it. Storm chasers call this area the jungle. And I've been down there a number of times as well, observing the weather, and it's a little hectic to see a bunch of trees and not knowing what's on the other side, so to speak. So at least out there you can see what's coming at you in terms of tornado activity. 5% chance for tornado activity out there in eastern New Mexico, 2% extending around that. Got some wind and some hail threats in there as well. That's going to be due to some thunderstorm activity out there today, popping up later this afternoon. Let's go over here to the southwest area. We'll check out the NAM model. These are all individual thunderstorms that are popping up here. And again, throughout the afternoon, some of these could get organized and potentially start rotating there in eastern New Mexico with some severe weather, thanks to a low pressure system out here pulling up some moisture there and creating that convection in that state. And that's going to continue for a little bit. It almost looks like that low is just going to sit there and pull in some moisture and create convection bands there through the weekend. And I know those folks need the rain, that's for sure, so they're going to get a little bit of it. California, not a whole lot going on right now. We got some warm temperatures today. It's supposed to be about 89 degrees out here, and then a cool down coming up next week, a little bit dropping back down in the low 80s. So I'll take that over 104 degrees, trust me. We already hit 104 degrees earlier this month. We had a couple days of 100-degree plus weather in October. That's not good. Our normal average temperature out here around Chico is supposed to be about 81 degrees here, so we're close around that today, and it should be that way through the week. All right, seismograph station's pretty quiet. This here looks like just maybe a adjustment on the amplitude scale here on the Parkfield, California station there. Doesn't look like earthquake activity. It would be a lot different than that. But this here from the little to the thicker line indicative, potentially maybe just some instrument adjustment going on. Could be manual, could be automatic. But aside from that, we'll catch you guys out here a little bit later on, folks. Enjoy your weekend. It is Saturday, so might as well get outside and enjoy it if you can. Take care and have a good one.